Okay, so we're going to talk about customizing an app that's already been provided for you in the Salesforce platform. The Sales app, for example. What is an app? What are the different features and different changes that you can make to customize it? We'll also apply that by creating our own Lightning app, such as an app for an events team if they need to focus on certain aspects of their daily sales process. So follow along. Let's get started. This is going to be a great baseline for you, especially if you're trying to be a Salesforce administrator or an expert sales professional. Let's do this together. Let's go. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the Sales app and all the different tabs across the navigation bar. We talked about in a previous video how you could reorder the navigation bar in this personalization area here if you were to click the pencil icon. However, I can't remove any items from here, so what I want to do is go to the App Manager. So I'm going to go into Setup. I'm going to go to the App Manager because what I really want to do is I want to optimize this and think about the sales user and say, what do they really need to see? So I'm in the App Manager. I went to App Manager, and Setup, and I'm going to go to Sales. I'm not going to go to the Classic version. I'm going to go to the Lightning version. Right here, Lightning Sales. Click Edit. And now we're going to start seeing a lot of the different ways you can customize your apps that have already been built. And then after this, we'll work on an app and build one together. So here we have details and branding, different options for how it's going to display, utility bar options for faster access in the desktop version when you're trying to type something in, and then navigation items is what we were just talking about. And I really want to stop and think, does the sales user really need to see, let's see, for example, do they need to see the calendar? Perhaps, if they have appointments and meetings. Do they need to see people? Maybe not. Let's see if we can remove that. You know, and each org is going to be different. Each org is going to have so many different variables and customizations. That's the whole point. You want to know how to get where you're going inside this setup. And so another thought is cases. I mean, why would they need that? Sometimes they might, because they're helping a customer. Maybe they're doing sales and customer service simultaneously. I mean, there's so many ways this could be accomplished. But I would like to remove that. And I mean, if they're not they don't need reports, not a manager, for example, they just need to log in, crank out some calls and get it done, maybe they take that out, right? But we'll leave it in there. And if I wanted to add more in, I could probably even, let's say they need to look at like, let's look through here. Maybe they work with contracts. Maybe they work with email templates. I'm going to use my keyboard to select both of these. I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to select both of these, and that way I can load multiples at a time. And then I can add this over to the side here. So you can see there's a lot of choices here, a lot of items. And so I just added contracts and templates because maybe they need to pull these up. Maybe they want to create their own templates. Sometimes the administrator creates templates for the user. I'm going to click Save. So now when I go back to the app, and before I go, I'm going to go to user profiles and talk about that for just a moment. But when we go back, you'll see this lined up the way it is. I could even, let's remove a couple more just to make it more noticeable. Maybe they're not even working with leads for some reason. I don't know why, but normally you can just see that you can do so much on here, right? So let's go to user profiles now. Oh, see, I forgot to save. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go to user profiles. And this is how you can define what type of user can see this app. And this is the standard default here. So almost everybody can see this app. But let's say like somebody says, hey, I can't see this. I don't have it on my screen. Then and they're assigned a profile of custom settings or default settings, then you'll need to drag and drop this over to the right so that they can see it. And that's in a future video where we're going to talk about profiles a lot more. So for now, you can see the different items on here that help you to customize an app that's already been designed. When we go in, we're going to go in and recreate our own. Let's go. I backed up to setup now, but I'm going to go to app launcher. And fortunately, it's right here, easily available. I'm going to go to sales. And you can drop this down if you have too many tabs. And then you can actually see where I added contracts and email templates. So I thought that was pretty interesting. This is standard navigation. And essentially the idea of what an app does, it's a collection of components and items on a screen that all work together as a bundle to help a user get a certain task done or to perform a certain function as part of their job title, their role, and their responsibilities. So essentially that's an app in a nutshell. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into a little further detail right after this. Okay, so now we're going to compare two different types of apps and create our own app. So right here I have this app called Special Events. You can see it only has 3 tabs or 3 objects at the top. They just need to talk to people with accounts. They need to talk to some contacts. And they need to deal with some assets, for example, or maybe we could add contracts or something in there later as they're continuing to build out their team and department of special events. However, if I want to go and be more efficient in the way I interact with customers, if I want the user to be more efficient, I could switch over, and I have another app over here that I created called Events. And perhaps they do the same function. Maybe it's a different company and they're doing this in a different way. They have a console navigation style here. So instead of a standard navigation or standard way of going about accessing their records and information, this console app allows me as a user to go in, drop down all the different features and functions. I want to pull up accounts, for example, and you'll see the list view over here change. And now I have a huge list and it's a lot faster for me to access information. And I can click here and you'll see it pop up a tab. Now the tab pops up over here on the screen. I have a bunch of tabs popped up, as you can tell. The opportunities and deals I'm working on, the contacts and accounts. You could even see sub tabs in here. So like Dickinson PLC as an account has Mr. Andy Young as one of their internal operations employees. I want to talk to him, but also I want to find some more info about what else is going on with their account. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to go build our own app. Let's go to setup, click the gear icon here, go to setup. Like we did before, we'll go into App Manager. I'm going to type in app, go to App Manager. And you can see all the apps we have, but what I want to do is click New Lightning App. Now I have to think about this. Okay, let's say it's a different company and I've looked at these examples and I know we're doing community events. Okay, I just typed in community events, drag and drop, app for community events team. You can come up with any description you want. You can brand it. I just use my logo here. But you could have any kind of brand, a sports team, a company logo, a team logo. You could get creative with that. You could even change the colors. You can match the theme options. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, remember I said standard navigation style versus console navigation style. That's what we looked at previously. I could make sure that it's supported in the mobile app versus the desktop, or just isolate it to, hey, this is desktop only. It's not going to pop up on the phone. But for the most part, people leave it as desktop and phone because they don't want to disable that ability. Setup is going to give you the full set of setup options whenever you go into setup, or whenever you click that gear icon. If you click service setup, you'll see the service setup options. If this is, for example, more of a customer service related app, you would want to click that, and it'll reorder the different buttons that you can click on under the gear icon that we clicked a minute ago. And then you could also really control if the user can even personalize their navigation bar, or if they could be able to open temporary tabs outside of the app. So a lot of different options here. You can add a utility item. Let's, for example, add history. You could add a bunch more on here. You can set it up however you like. You'll see the utility item on the screen in just a moment. And then, of course, as we have done before, we're going to add in the objects, or it'll say items here, but really these are objects or tabs when you pull it up on the screen. And let's just do accounts, contacts, and do we have opportunities? Yes, we do. Keep it simple. The simpler, the more simplified it can be, the easier it will be for the user. Remember that. Now, I want to make sure I know who can access this. And so probably sales, and I'd probably would have a profile that's custom that would say community events profile. But for now, let's just use marketing, sales, support, maybe system administrator, which would be me or yourself as the administrator. You can do so much in here. This is up to you and your team and your leadership team who can have access to what. The idea is to simplify it as much as possible, though, so that people don't have access to apps they don't need, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go back to the app launcher. I'm going to go to community events, and as you can see, it pops up here. Let's take a look. Look how simple that was. We just built an app. I'm going to remove this organizer so you can see the utility bar here. Well, this is interesting, right? I wanted to show you this, that the utility for history only works in console apps. Remember, the console app was this type of app where the tabs continue to open on the same screen and it reduces clutter in your browser. So if I wanted this to really work, I would need to load this as a console app. So what's interesting is you could put a to-do list here. You could put a variety of different items that are quick access, and that's the whole idea. If you were to get asked a question about this on the admin exam, it's going to say a user wants a way to access notes quickly without having to leave the screen, and you would say add the notes feature to the utility bar, for example. So there you have it. As simple as that. You've built your first app if you followed along. Hopefully that worked out for you. Let's talk about it further. Stay tuned for the next video and stay motivated. Don't give up. You're about to be a Salesforce admin.